Hey everyone, and welcome to day 4 of A Simpler Way, where I am creating a homestead on our property. You can see here it's raining. I'm getting pretty wet, so I'm going to do this rather quickly. But today was another kind of rest day. Tomorrow I'm hoping to get back to the yard work and continuing to develop the property into a homestead. But in the meantime, of course, the daily chore of watering everything in the greenhouse. It is raining right now, but I'm afraid that I'm not getting enough rain on there just to leave the plants out for a bit. So I'm going to bring them out and then water them and then put them back this time. I'm a little worried about, and you can kind of see it here, we have some condensation, and I'm just a little worried about watering in there, creating mold or water and moisture problems. I'm going to do some more reading about it, but I haven't had a chance to. But I'm going to take them out, water them, and then put them back in until I do more research and make sure that it's totally okay for the plants. But we're going to do that. And then I'm also, this episode, going to talk a little bit more about our future plans here, and exactly what we want to turn this homestead into. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and water, and then we can have a talk. I'm going to see if we've got, it's been over a week. I planted these on the 3rd. Today, I believe, is the 11th. I planted the tomato plants, so I should have some growth. I'd like to think. And I have no sprouts. Not surprised, but, you know. Oh, wow, I've got sprouts. Look at that. Now, that's what I'm talking about. I have sprouts. Wait, I gotta do this right way. I have got sprouts on the Cosmo plants. I have got sprouts on the Cosmo plants. Let's go. Yes. I know it's a little ironic that I'm out here watering, but at the same time, I have no choice. Oh, I am getting rained on. But after getting some sprouts, I'm kind of okay with that. I'm going to go ahead and water here. These must just be quicker to germinate than the other ones. I don't know, but I am not going to ask too many questions. Let me go ahead and turn the hose water off. But yeah, I'm definitely not going to ask questions. Because they sprouted, which means I'm at least somewhat successful, so I will definitely take that. That is a huge victory here. Also means I'm not cooking the plants, because if I was cooking the plants in the heat of the day, then they would not sprout. So that means I'm just going to have to be patient with the rest of them, which now that I've gotten a little feedback from my plants here, I'm definitely okay with doing. I'm just trying to put this back here. There we go. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and put this back in. Now those cosmos I'm probably going to end up pairing with the daisies around the bird bath that you saw in the earlier episodes. That's kind of my plan. They're just going to be flowers. I'll probably, I don't know if I'm going to direct sow those. I don't know if I'm going to sow those now or if I'm going to grow them a little bit. I think I might end up growing them a little bit in a second larger pot before I transplant them. Especially if the daisies are going to take a little bit longer. I mean, they've got like a 60-day growing cycle, and I don't know. I'm just not. I want them to get a little bit bigger before I plant them outside, and also want to give the daisies a chance to grow, because if not, I'm going to have to pair them with something else. But I'm going to go ahead and set the camera down. There we go. I figured I'd go ahead and sit down. It's beautiful out here, but it's raining, and I'm already kind of showered and dressed for the day. I don't really want to have to get into a set of clothes. I'm a little wet, but I was able to go ahead and do the watering. The chicks are living chicken life, you know. Nothing new there. Just kind of slowly weaning them off of the heat lamp. You know, nothing crazy there. Yeah, figured I'd move it out a little bit further. But yeah, the chicks are coming along pretty well. Just starting to wean him off that heat lamp. We actually moved into the laundry room where we kind of intermittently turn the light on and off, the heat lamp on and off for them throughout the day. But I'm definitely excited to get them outside, because the sooner I get them outside is the sooner that they get acclimated outside. And well, the sooner we get eggs from them, but really it's the sooner we get them out of the house. I enjoyed raising the chicks. I think we got them a little bit older. Like most of the time they're really, really small. They were a little bit bigger when we got them. Like they were older than a few days old. I feel like when we got them, I forgot to ask you exactly how old they are, and I know that they just got to be fully feathered before we can bring them outside. So it's just kind of been a waiting game with that. And this is our first round of chickens, so it's definitely exciting, to get them out, and get them used to being outside. But it has been fun raising them, but it's just, knocking over their food bowl, knocking over their water, or like their food dish, knocking over their water dish, things like that. They're fun to take care of, but it does get a little bit annoying. I'm sure there's probably going to be some stuff like that outside, but I'm definitely looking forward to being able to use a larger waterer, a larger feeder, getting them outside. So that way they can eventually start laying. That way hopefully a couple of those hens go broody and we get some little chicks of our own, stuff like that. I'm just looking forward to developing that, because that's going to be a good source of protein in the future. And that's kind of the next part of this video that I wanted to do today, because today is kind of more of a relaxing day. My wife's been off work the last 2 days, or yesterday and then today. So, just doing some reflecting, resting, and researching. The next few days, I'm going to probably be out here a little bit more, especially after seeing those sprout. I definitely want to get a head start on clearing out the garden area. Originally I was going to use that area, then I decided, okay, I'll probably move it. At this point, I'm going to use a, wow. It's like I'm completely forgetting the name of it. But the big pole with a saw at the end. The pole saw. We use a pole saw to try to bring down the big branches that are over top. Of the garden area. I'm going to try to bring those down. And here at the end, I'll show you. Actually, I can just show you right now. Spin you around here. This little green area is going to be where I start up. It won't let me zoom in. I guess my finger's a little wet. All right, sorry. I guess it's not letting me zoom in. But that little green area right there is our garden, or was our garden. It's a little fenced in area, not very big. But I know that it's what we have for right now. It's not the biggest, it's probably not the best, not the most secure, but it's what we have for now. And I want to start by using that. I was thinking about moving it to another area in the area that I was clearing, but for right now, I feel like it's best to just leave it there and try it out there. I feel like there's not going to be a humongous difference between being further back in the woods and being over there. I feel like deer are my main thing that I'm a little worried about. I mean, rabbits, of course, but any sort of a fence is going to keep rabbits out. I'm a little bit worried about moles uprooting the vegetables, but there's not a whole lot I can do about that, quite frankly. I feel like to a certain extent, it's kind of up to, nature to a certain extent. I feel like with, growing them directly in the ground like that, you're gonna run the risk of something eating them from the bottom, from the top. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when you're gardening and when you're planting vegetables like that. So I'm not gonna be super worried about keeping them super protected, but I'm gonna do the best that I can with the resources that I already have here. I did do a little research on using netting. That's something that I might do if I see that deer are starting to feast on our garden. But for right now, I'm just going to try to use that area. I'm going to track the sunlight and use a pole saw probably about midday. Maybe tomorrow, probably the next day though, because I don't know what the weather's going to do. I know it's raining today, but I might let things dry up for a couple of days. But at some point, I am going to use the pole saw just to bring down some of the bigger branches that are covering that area and see if I can't get it, to get full sunlight, or at least better sunlight on this property, just because of how dense the forest is. And I love it, but just because of how dense the forest is, it's going to be really tough to get anything to full sun. But I feel like I'll get enough sun to have it grow. I would assume definitely 6+ hours a day, because I think that's what the little planter things that Lowe's said was like full sun 6+ hours a day. It should get 6+ hours over there if I can get the trees, get some of the branches off the trees, and then if I can't, kind of go from there, because I know that it's not really sustainable to grow in that greenhouse. And even if I built because I'm doing research on using PVC tubing, PVC pipes to create sort of a hoop house, greenhouse over them. But I'm not really worried about temperature, and quite frankly, if they're not getting sun, then there's nothing that a greenhouse is going to do for them. The benefit of having the greenhouse where we have it there, it is smaller, but it catches a lot of sun. And that is one benefit of doing it there. And even the center of our backyard just does not catch a lot of sun. There are some other sides closer to this side of the house, on that same side, but closer to the house, they get a lot of full sun. But for now, I'm just going to keep it where it is and see if we can't make that work, at least for now. In the future, I'd like to expand it. There is also some room to expand it there. So I just want to see what that area looks like, especially once I get all the leaves shoveled out, use the pole saw, get some branches down, just see how we're doing. And then if it really, really won't work there, then I have enough time between, because 2 of the 3 pots that I planted are going to be flowers. The other one's going to be vegetables, which is going to be the beans. And then there's some other vegetable seeds that I have that I want to start growing. So I definitely have some time, not a lot of time. I definitely don't have time to waste, but I have enough time to completely vet that location, and if that's not sound, then make another plan to move it somewhere else. But I've been doing some thinking, ever since I started this, really, about what the long-term goal of this homestead is going to be and how we're going to achieve it. I'm not really quite sure what my long-term goal is yet here, or what our long-term goal is here. I feel like trying to make things more sustainable and make this property productive is really at the top of the list. I want this place to be productive. We have a lot of land here in a great growing zone, and I want to just make it productive. And that's kind of been what's been on my mind. It's not so much homestead, not so much all this other stuff. It's kind of evolved to that, but really it's just making this land productive. Like, what can we do to make this land better and to make it productive, to make it produce and to sustain? And we started with some chickens. We're raising them. We're going to raise them for eggs primarily. I don't think that we're going to do any sort of broiler chickens or anything like that. I think, we're going to use them solely for eggs, and as pets as well. And then we're going to, of course, raise a round of ducks. So I guess I should list it out by what our plans is, or what our plans are. We do this first round of chickens, and then we're going to raise a couple ducks more as pets, because, I mentioned in the last video with my wife, she really wants some ducks, and I'm actually really excited for the ducks too. But those are going to be more like pets. Plus, it's going to give those chickens a head start and to make sure that everything's viable with our chicken coop setup and everything like that before we introduce another round of 4 to 5 hens. After the ducks, probably be another 4 to 5 hens. And then from that point, I'm not really quite sure what other animals we're going to add at that point. I've been doing some research as to what other meat options and what other options that we really have for raising animals. For where we're at, doing cows is definitely not something that I feel like is an option, either financially or because it's a big investment, but also you need land for them to graze and to be healthy. And we do have that, but we don't have clear pasture land. And that's definitely not something that I really see as an option right now. I've been doing some research on rabbits and goats as well. But as far as, farming animals for meat, does not really look like something that's going to be an option for us right now. Just because, between my family and I, we're just not really big on raising chickens for meat, or raising any other animals for meat, quite frankly, that are available to us. I just feel like the animals that we're able to raise here, we would not want to eat for meat, if that makes sense. I don't really want to raise broiler chickens. We just decided that we really don't want to raise broiler chickens, and all of the other options that we could raise here on this land just don't seem to be very viable for meat. I did some research on rabbits, and that's something that I am kind of considering. But let me know in the comments if you have any experience with something like that. I've heard that that's a good option for people with less land, and it's not like we're really at a lack of land. It's just more of a financial issue combined with what type of land that we have. We have enough space to have animals. It's just more, what is it that we want to eat? What is it that they're going to produce? And then, what is it, like, how much money are we investing in it to get that back? And I feel like for chickens, the investment's good. We're getting eggs back, and we get compost, and there's other benefits. I feel like that really puts us in the right direction. As far as the garden goes, I really just want to see if I can grow everything. I feel like we got a really long growing season here, and I really want to just grow as many vegetables as I can. I know I started with some primarily flowers because I like to have flowers outside of, in the front of the house. I feel like it looks nice every year, and it's just something that I look forward to doing. I know it's not super homesteady, but it's something that I like to look at. So I'm just gonna my plan is just raise round after round of flowers, buying packets of seeds, raising them to seed, to, I guess, seedlings, raising them, separating them, replanting them in the garden, depending on the seed, and just going from there. I think that's gonna really be the plan. I'm gonna plant everything that I have packets for, everything that I have seeds for now, and I'm just gonna grow based on that. And if something doesn't grow, then something doesn't grow. But then I know. And I know that I could reach out to the agricultural extension in my local area and get my soil tested. That's something that I've read about, but honestly, I really just want to try and grow things and then see how that goes, if that makes sense. I really just want to, I've got the bean plants now, and then from there, I've got radishes, I've got carrots, and I think that's about it. I know that I've got some others, I'm trying to think of what they are. I think I've got some romaine. I think that's about it. Oh, watermelon, cantaloupe. I got a couple pepper plants, but those are going to kind of be my wife's pet project. But I really just want to try and grow everything. And I don't know if that's really the best way to do it, but I'm just trying to kind of jump in and see what I can grow and what grows well. In terms of nutrition, I've done some reading on that as well. And I feel like nutritionally, I'm not quite sure, and definitely let me know in the comments or in the DMs on Instagram at a simpler way of life social. I always forget that because I had to make it something like specific because everything else was taken. But at a simpler way of life social. Go ahead and DM me and let me know if there's any particularly nutrient dense foods that you plant in your garden. Right now, I'm just trying to see what grows and what is, I'm not necessarily even looking at what's the most expensive food, but I read somebody talking about growing rice, growing potatoes, stuff like that. I do want to try growing potatoes, but at the same point, if potatoes are cheap and rice is cheap, I'm trying to look at options that, are not necessarily more expensive, but just aren't super cheap to buy. I feel like buying rice at the store is going to be a super cheap and efficient option. Buying potatoes at the store, super cheap and efficient option. Are they going to be better here? Yes. Over time, could we consider growing those? Yes. But I want to start with things, I guess I'm not necessarily starting with things that are more expensive to buy at the store. It's more that I'm avoiding planting things that are super cheap to buy at the store. Or at least in my opinion, super cheap and efficient to buy at the store. At least for now. And over time that might change. But I guess my long-term goal right now, and I'm sure it'll change over time, but my long-term goal right now is to get the land to be more productive, to start a garden that is continuous 9 months out of the year, because I feel like in our growing zone, that is something we can do. I feel like we can go March, April, all the way to November, December. I feel like that's something that we can do, and I feel like it's a tough goal, but at the same time, I feel like it's something we can pull off. I want to grow this current garden and expand it in the future. I want to have chickens and expand them in the future, and I just, I'm sure I'll find new ways to make this property more sustainable in the future, but that's really my goal for right now. Buy less from the grocery stores, produce more from here. And then when I am going to the grocery stores, I'm buying the staples, rice, potatoes, meats that we don't raise here, things like that. Right now, major things I'm thinking about is sources of meat in the future. That's really the biggest thing that I've started to think about in my mind, because right now we've got egg protein, we've got plants and possible plant protein in the future. But I'm not a hunter, never hunted before. Definitely something that I could be interested in the future, but not something that is a sustainable right now food source. And I feel like I need to find a source of protein. Because getting potato, from a dietary perspective of trying to produce a lot of our own food, I'm thinking in terms of protein, carbs, and then of course, you got fats and things like that. But I'm really thinking in terms of protein and carbs. And right now, I know that carbs can be cheap, rice can be cheap, potatoes can be cheap, and then eventually over time, growing those, as well as, we have fruits and vegetables from the garden. The main thing on my mind right now is what we're gonna do for proteins. I definitely want to raise, hopefully by the end of the season, we have 4 hens now, maybe add another 4 to 5. So I have a total of 8 to 9 hens. That should give us, rough math, maybe about 50 eggs a week. But I don't feel like it's sustainable for us to eat eggs for every single meal. A couple of day breakfast is probably sustainable, but I don't think it's sustainable long term to like eat a bunch of eggs. So I'm really just trying to think about nutrient dense vegetables as a potential option, like beans and other bean varieties, but also like what could we raise for meat? That's kind of what's on my mind, and that's what I'm going to keep doing research on over the coming couple of days, over the next few days, over the coming weeks. Is just what we can do to continue to try to provide more meat. I know that there's a lot of people that talk about conserving water and making your own clothes and stuff like that, and that's not quite where I am right now, just because I don't feel a pressing need for it. Here we have well water, so we don't pay a water bill here, and I know there's costs associated with owning a well, but that's not like the top of the priority list for me right now. I'm not necessarily super worried about that. Electricity is another one. I'm not super concerned about replacing that with solar anytime soon. I've heard a lot of interesting things about a lot of those avenues, about becoming more sustainable and completely less reliant on things like electricity, water, things like that. And that's definitely interesting. It's something I could look into over time. But right now, I think my primary goal is to clear more land that's available for use, like I'm doing there, just trying to get leaves back and clear up more land that we can actually walk through and one day use. I'm not necessarily trying to get it to a point where it's useful for any one particular thing, but if I can rake back these leaves, clear dead trees, do things like that, not only will I assume it'll help foster the growth of the trees and the plants that are already there, but it'll also make it available to clear in the future. That way I'm not starting from absolute scratch when I want to build a new structure or do something new. It's already somewhat cleared, and now we just have to clear it for a particular purpose. So that's definitely a big one. And then I think right now I'm just going to set my sights on trying to provide a plate. Have this property produce a plate of food. Like that, I think, is the goal. Being able to produce our own protein, being able to produce our own carbs to a certain extent, probably supplementing a lot of carbs from grocery stores, things like bread, rice, potatoes, your basics, but, trying to produce our own proteins and our own fruits and vegetables and seeing where we go from there. That's really the plan for right now, and until we achieve that, I think that's what I'm going to be really focused on. And then in the future, we can definitely see where it goes, with chickens, expanding that. Well, actually, that's probably the plan we're doing now. But I mean, looking into the future, things like solar, gathering rainwater. That's something that I might look into a little bit sooner than later, just because I feel like could probably reuse a lot of rainwater, and I'm not sure if it's a big, But then again, over time, using rainwater to water our plants, probably going to save a good amount of water over time. But overall, I feel like my family and I are just trying to be more mindful now. More mindful when we spend money, more mindful when we do a little laundry, like things like that. And I know that in my own head, I'm definitely starting to try to become more mindful, and I am becoming more mindful, I'd like to think, about things like spending money, trying to reuse what we have, using what we have, things like that, trying to get out of this materialistic mindset and into a mindset of simplicity, which is the whole reason I started this channel, is to kind of document that progress over time. Where we will end up, I don't know, but if I did, that would take all the fun out of it. So that is the plan for now, and I think that about does it today. I'm gonna go check in on the chicks, and I might post some pictures on Instagram of the chicks. I don't know if I'm gonna check in with them every single time, because there's just not a lot going on with them right now. They're just kind of growing on along, but I think in general, it's the start of something new. Day 4, just definitely trying to stay consistent. I think tomorrow my plan outside, I'm going to try to do about an hour a day of work. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm trying to do an hour a day of work in the yard, either clearing land, doing stuff like that that's outside of the ordinary, like watering the flowers and watering the plants, doing stuff like that. I'm thinking more in terms of work to expand. I'm going to try to do about an hour a day and kind of build up from there. I just don't want to overdo it. I know I want to set myself up to be consistent over time. So that's going to be my plan. And I think I'm going to spend tomorrow's hour probably working on continuing to clear some more land up front, just because I feel like I'm getting to a spot where it doesn't seem like it, but I feel like I'm getting to a spot where I'm almost done with that. I'm getting closer to done with that. And I feel like that's something that's going to take time. Like even with this area out here, that's something that's going to really take time, because you got your first layer of leaves, then the other layer, then another layer, and then it just gets to the point where it's almost mulch to the bottom. And it's going to take time to uncover that dirt and uncover that ground. So I'm going to try and, get back that first layer tomorrow. And then if I have time, either tomorrow or the next day, just go see what this garden's shaping up to be. Get the pole saw out, cut down some branches, just see if I can't get that to where it needs to be, because that's already set up. Fence is set up, posts are set up, everything's ready to go. So that is going to be the plan for now. Assess the garden, do that, but that's gonna be tomorrow. But in general, I think that's gonna about do it for day 4. Another low-key day, kind of like yesterday. But again, consistency is key. Getting out here, making sure that I'm keeping everything watered, keeping the chicks fed and watered, and just continuing to be consistent. That's really what I'm realizing is going to be a big part of starting this homestead, is going to be just being consistent over a long period of time. And that's why I really love doing this video series, because it's helping to keep me consistent. I know that every day I got to be doing a video. So either way, I think that's going to do it for day 4. I will see you tomorrow, and definitely make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you get a notification when the day's video goes live. And then also follow me at A Simpler Way of Life Social on Instagram. You have a good one.